The math of God. It all started when God, the source, imagine him as a single dot in a void. He became aware of his own consciousness and explored himself, creating a circle of awareness around himself. In the process of exploring his consciousness, he created a pattern known in the scientific community as the Genesis pattern. Think of the part of the Bible where he says, "I am the great I am." This perfect pattern repeated itself as God continued to expand his consciousness, and it became the flower of life. But first, there was the Vesica Pisces. It's like an elongated football shape, which is the building block of the pattern. Keep in mind that motion is impossible in a void. Therefore, God could not have moved until he began to expand his consciousness and give himself something to bounce off of. This is why in the Bible it says, God moved and created. So the 6 days of the biblical creation story are when God began exploring and repeating the pattern of his own consciousness. Who's to say how long this process actually took? Perhaps the biblical concept of a day is lost in translation, or maybe it's simply an analogy. Anyway, the flower of life pattern goes on forever. It's infinite, and it is the foundational building block of all things. Although it goes on forever, students of esoteric alchemy school always stopped creating the flower of life pattern after 19, because to go any farther, they said, was considered sacred. Secret knowledge. Students who uttered the name of the larger pattern outside of alchemy school would be put to death in order to keep the sacred knowledge hidden. Within the expanded pattern is found the Kabbalah, the tree of life, and the most complex of the 5 Platonic solids. The dodecahedron, which is the name that could get an alchemy student put to death for uttering. There are 13 informational systems in the flower of life pattern, and within these 13 systems lies the egg of life, or the seed of life pattern. These 13 information systems make up Metatron's cube when you add straight lines connecting the center of each sphere to every other sphere. It is important to note that the spheres are female, the mother energy, and the lines are male, the father energy, and when combined they create the most powerful energy system. Metatron's cube is known as the most powerful grid in sacred geometry for this reason. The egg of life is the exact same structure of the embryo as it is splitting. If you connect all of the spheres in the egg of life from the center, they'll form a cube. The cube is the most basic of the 5 Platonic solids through which all creation is formed. This process is called circling the square and squaring the circle, and combines male and female energy in all of creation. The cube and the square together form the triangle, which is divinity. The pattern repeats forever. It is infinite. This repeated male and female pattern strives ever closer to phi, which is the golden ratio. The vector equilibrium is formed with 3 two-dimensional hexagons that swivel around each other, also known as the cuboctahedron. This is the perfect and most stable shape. It is made when the divine triangular energy and the male cube energy combine. Notice how at the front and back of each Vesica Pisces there is a dot. That same dot of source. This is the singularity. It changes matter into energy and energy back into matter for infinity, further proving that there is no beginning and there is no end. The same singularity that is in even the pattern of the atoms that make up our DNA. It's the same structure of the singularity in black holes, proving that there is no big and no small. Let that sink in for a minute. Our atoms contain the singularity, which transforms matter into energy, which is spirit, and spirit back into matter. Everything is infinite thanks to the singularity. It is a part of literally everything. Therefore, this proves that nothing can come to an end. It simply transforms. Think of our ascension from the physical matter of our human bodies into that of spirit and back again. This pattern is infinite. Let's think about the harmonics of sacred geometry. The harmonics of music flow in the same exact pattern as the tetrahedron. The star tetrahedron is also known as the Star of David. The harmonic flow of music and the star tetrahedron can be superimposed over each other for infinity and will come back around to the flower of life pattern. All light and music come from the same pattern. Just as there are 13 informational systems in the egg or the seed of life, there are 13 basic notes or steps in music that also correlate to our chakras. This musical system goes up and down forever through 12 by 12 octaves, making up 44 dimensions. The musical system strives ever closer to perfection, just as the Fibonacci spiral in nature and the phi ratio. Waveforms make up everything with this same pattern of sound and geometry. Think of the different dimensions as musical harmonies. This will enable us to understand how they can all exist at once. They are waveforms. We can superimpose waveforms, music, and dimensions, and they all fit together perfectly into the same pattern. It is interesting to note that 7.23 is the wavelength of our dimension, that of the physical realm. This is the structure of our DNA and the atoms that make up every cell in our body. The singularity within this pattern transforms energy to matter and matter back into energy. Although black holes are voids, they somehow hold the existence of everything outside of them, as the singularity transforms everything. In this manner, the one is the all, and the all is the one, thanks to the source, the singularity. Think of a baby being conceived. The heart is the first organ to develop, and the rest of the body flows out of the heart. The heart is the singularity. It's the source. It's God. And God is love, as is our heart. The heart tells the brain what to do. Studies are now showing that the heart actually sends far more information to the brain. However, the human race has fallen from using our heart consciousness, that's our female creative energy, to an imbalance of utilizing far more brain consciousness, which is the male analytical energy. This fall has caused us to lose our connections to divine unity, and it is the patriarch. However, the human race is evolving and becoming more aware. We're working toward ascending back to the divine through our heart consciousness. The key is love. Out of the heart flows the torus. This is an energy field that is, surprise, surprise, the same pattern as the flower of life in 3D. This energy field has an electromagnetic field emanating from the heart that has been proven to have an effect on others in the vicinity of this electromagnetic energy field. That is why what is in our heart is where our focus is, and why we must protect our hearts. Because of the patriarch, there is currently an imbalance in our consciousness, causing disharmonic levels of consciousness in the human race. The ancient Egyptians built the pyramids using the flower of life and the phi ratio as an attempt to follow the pattern of consciousness to the divine. The king's chamber and etc. were the male cube and the female sphere parts of the equation, which, as we learned previously, create the pyramid, the triangle shape, which is divinity, when in harmony together. The morphogenic field correlates to the chakra system and the toroidal energy field and coherence of the body, mind, emotions, and spirit. China is ahead of the curve in that they have hospitals for prana, life energy, healing that utilize chanting in order to enable the mind to bypass reality and accomplish self-healing through the heart. So, in review, the same pattern that makes up the black hole in space is also the same torus energy field around all living things. It is the fingerprint of God.